JackingAllTrades here. I don't know if you remember, but this is the $2 pine bow I had in my other video. So today I'm going to show you how to make a similar bow, except this time I'm going to try and go ahead and do it without a backing, because after stringing up and shooting this bow, you can really feel that it's not stressed at all. So it might not even need the backing. So I'm going to go ahead and do it without the backing. So first what you want to do is you want to pick up a piece of pine furring strip. This piece of wood I picked up for 97 cents, just under $1 at Home Depot. It's 8 feet long. So for this bow, you want to cut it down to about 82 inches. So if you can see, I've marked the whole board. First, from here to the end is the length of the bow. What you want to do is you want to select a board that has as straight a grain as you can find it. You know, you want as little rings to be running off the board as possible. If you can see on the end here, right here, there's grain that's running off the board, which is why I'm actually cutting that section off. And one important thing I wanted to show is that if you can see on the end here, how the grain is running all the growth rings are running almost straight up and down. And with the growth rings running straight up and down, that pretty much means that if you were to see this growing in a tree, this part would be the outside of the tree, and this would be the inside of the tree. So this is kind of a non-traditional method of making a bow, where I'm not following a growth ring. I'm actually cutting sideways through all the growth rings, which I find makes it a lot easier, especially on the pine, because it seems to give it, makes it less likely to lift a splinter than if I were to try and follow a growth ring. Especially because on most furring strips you get, the growth rings are really small. So what you want to do is, after you've figured out, once you've measured how long your board is, you want to measure the center of the board, figure out where that is, and then mark the center of it, so the very center of your bow. Then what you want to do is you want to take a string from end to end and actually run it through the center and hold the string as straight as you can get it. Or if you have a really long straight edge, that'll work as well. Because basically what you're doing is you want to line up the ends through the center. Because as you can see, the board itself is not perfectly straight. But if you look at the bow that I've drawn on here, it actually runs straight down the board. So once you've got all that drawn out, it's time to start cutting. So once you've cut your bow to length, you could either take a bandsaw or the same saw and cut all these edges off. But I don't have a bandsaw, and I'd rather just rasp it off. So I'm basically going to use my Sureform rasp, which is currently full of shavings from the previous bow. And I'm just going to rough out the outsides. So basically what I'm doing is I'm going to be cutting down to the lines that I drew. And I like doing it this way just because it's probably the cheapest clamp I've got. So here I have the bow roughed out this way. And so if you can see on the side, I've already gone ahead and marked lines that go down the length of the bow. And these are kind of like how thick you want your bow to be. So basically at the tips you want them to be ½ inch going to full thickness at the handle. So now that once you've marked that out, you can cut it. Okay, so once you've roughed out the outside, because the bow is so long, actually, if you look at it, you can hardly see that we've actually done any work. But now that you've got that, you can actually start to bend it already. So what you're going to want to do is just kind of bend it and start bending it just to kind of get a feel for it. This is just kind of like rough tillering it. Now with most bows, this step would be the roughed out state. But actually when I made that bow for the first time, I was hoping to round the back of it like an English longbow. If I had, I probably would have lost about 5 to 10 pounds. And considering that when I finished this up, it only had about 15 pounds at 28 inches, there's almost no weight to it. So we're going to keep it roughed out. So just by rough bending it, I can actually tell that it feels like it has a little more weight than that bow does. So it might be because this piece of wood I got was already warped in one direction. So hopefully it'll take less of a severe set, but it might take a bigger set. Who knows? So now we're going to cut the nocks and we're going to string it up, see how it goes. So for these nocks I'm going to start an inch down and then just kind of eyeball it at a 45-degree angle. And that's where we're going to cut our nocks. So I'm just going to, basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut so that this is straight across. And I'm going to go in, maybe less than 1/4 of an inch. Not going to go in too far. And once I've gone in that way, then I'm going to come up here just a little bit, just to kind of widen the nocks. Then I just want to cut at an angle until both cuts meet, and that's it. So just repeat that for all 4 sides. Alright, so now that we've got our nocks cut, now you should never do this when making a bow. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to string it . So I am going to untwist the string just a little bit so I get a little bit of length. Just in case it can't handle the full brace. Okay, now that I've got the string on it, it's actually got a pretty good tiller. So from here, which is about half brace, I'm just going to exercise the limbs a little bit. What you want to do is you want to basically just pull it a couple inches at a time, about 30 times, 30, 40, 50, it doesn't really matter. Just kind of pull to the same place. And then you want to pull a little farther. Basically, you just want to keep doing this until you've brought it up to full draw. So you can either do the whole thing and tiller it by hand, and with a bow like this you can get pretty good results. Or you can use a tillering kit. Maybe one of these days I'll show you all how to make a tillering kit. This bow is pulling 28 pounds at 28 inches. Thanks for watching my video.